It's March the 16th, 2018. I'm Dana Durnford, your host, the nuclearproctologist.org. So we've been under siege for several years straight, and it takes its toll on everybody. And I probably seem like I'm invisible, immune. Only in the sense that a job has to be done. But I see the attacks upon people, and I'll turn that down for you. And to me, it's horrific. It's unbelievably shocking. The system's so vicious, they're so low IQ, that anybody who supports me is a target. And like every battle or every war, most people lose their guts for it pretty quick anyway. And so if you keep at them, you drive the majority away. And lots will lose faith. And lots will just run out of energy or run out of the will. That's what they count on. This is what they're used to. This is the rule book they play by. But this is different. This is the death of the Pacific to start. And this is very clear. We've lost the Pacific. And then everything else follows after. It's a snowball effect. And so when I started this, I was under siege. I'm still under siege. It's gotten worse for sure. I don't work under the theory of the trolls or the industry gatekeepers, whatever you want to call them. Self-appointed, a lot of them are. I work on the theory that humanity still exists. I find it right here in my chat room every night. And I find it throughout the world all the time, but it's these little pockets of good versus so much evil. I don't blame people for burning out, if that's what you want to call it. But don't expect me to burn out. I don't have a moment of any day, and I don't complain per se, but I do sometimes, you hear me. And so tonight we're going to talk about Fukushima, but at some point before I take off on the expeditions in the next couple of weeks, I should remind everybody who we are and what we do, and why we do it. And it's so easy to be complacent. It's so easy just to throw in the towel. And that's what separates us from the pack. For sure. And just a couple of quick short videos tonight.
Just on Thursday night show.
Last night video.
I got the batteries at 12 volt this time. Probably won't show up, there's too dark.
So last night after the show, that's what I do, straight to the boat before it gets dark.
So I got the new one on. I'm going to put the charger on it. I'm going to put the old shitty charger, little charger. We're definitely going to have to get a better charger. But hey, who cares?
Now the idea of a new charger, of a real charger, that's like a $40 charger. And so it'll take 18 hours to charge the battery, basically. If you got two batteries, then you got to wait till one is charged before you can charge the other. And a real charger minimum is $400 to $500. And I'm going to have to get that before I go because I have 5 batteries. And I need to run, I got to charge all kinds of equipment every day. all kinds of batteries every day. From the drone underwater, we bought a drone today. We'll pay for it. I'll show you the receipt. And we won't have it till Tuesday, I guess. And that's going to have multiple batteries for the chummy you're hanging on to and for the drone itself, and then backup batteries for the drone. The cameras are all running on batteries. We'll have multiple cameras. Etc., etc., etc. Play with the rest of that video.
We got batteries.
Batteries. Me goofing. It's just a couple of minutes of video. I'll let them play.
Let's try it. Anytime you're ready.
Talking to myself. I'm talking to you is what I'm doing.
11.9 volts, that's a bit better. Still says low. We'll call that a wrap. Wrap. That's awesome.
It's almost dark, so the video's not very clear.
Until night. So good. Very cool. Very good.
Very good.
Turn that off. Down there. That's collar kabooey. So it was a good stream tonight for Thursday. Put this baby back together.
Okay, couple of quick short clips to this morning.
So this works a lot better than I was hoping.
Gotta get the kinks out of this thing. Bad visibility.
Works a lot better than I was hoping.
There's bad visibility there. And so I went to back where the boat is
Took it out of the
too.
water, and we're down to the boat.
That's a different wharf this
It's
afternoon.
Friday, March the 16th, so just a little video. That's twice today I had this thing out, some practice.
Practice, yeah. That's today's date. And $783 I spent on a DJI Spark drone. Enough to make you pull your eyeballs out. We burned through everything. Now, Pam, the $400 showed up today. Thank you, Pam. That's why we got the drone. That I had several $100 left over, and then if I don't grab the drone, we're never going to get it. And we need the drone. If we want to spot whales and birds, groups of birds, like the drone also, when I go ashore, I can scout the island for bears, because we had an incident the last time where a bear came after me. So now I'll be able to scout for the bear. I still got to pick up bear spray and stuff like that to have on the beach with me each time. 2 cans. And the headlines of the Fukushima, we got just a great list coming up here in a few moments of headlines and documentation to get everybody. And Pam also told me today she's sending me another $200. So that's huge, because we got to raise some money at this stage. We just burnt through the whole kit and caboodle, but we got just about all the equipment at this stage to get started with. I could do with more, but we got enough to get going. Let's bring up some graphics. Hi to everybody worldwide. YouTube sent me a message, said I'll be able to post videos, but not live stream, at my Beautiful Girl site on the 25th, I think it was. I never had my glasses on. 25th or 26th. Something like that. Just before I leave to head north, I'll be able to repost that Beautiful Girl by Dana. And that's important because I'm being pounded by the trolls. And I'm on another YouTube channel so we can live stream, but I can't even post at my other site with 22,000 subscribers. Is it trolls? It's okay. You're dust. Just like the goblins and the dinosaurs and the fables, you're dust. We don't fear you or your bark. YouTube sucked it to me, but at least I'll be able to post videos on the 25th or 26th. Please share these videos and my site and my message on your social networking sites. And consider subscribing or put me in your bookmark so you can find me later. And hi to anybody and everybody that's on the stream and finds it later. Poor Elaine never stops. I don't know how she does it. I really don't. Yes, and everybody who's ever donated is right. Elaine, thank you. Hang on. A red light. George, Scott. Yeah, streaming. I'm just burnt out. I just can't keep up with everything. Hi, Joe. Yeah, a little DJI Spark. It has a 4K gimbal camera. It can follow you, return home features, you bet. Strontium. Milks. And he's a blogger, folks. He's been doing Fukushima for years. Please show him some support. Hi, Lynn. Lenny? I'm so bad with names. But everybody gets my name wrong when you meet me for some reason. But I should learn by that and be able to do names, right? Hi, Robert. And Elaine, which is Shanikin, folks, 775. Was instrumental in making these expeditions happen, by the way, for anybody who's not familiar. And has done more than enough, as I keep telling her. Siegfried. And everybody, like, there's so many people donated over the years, I can't keep up with it. And when I don't even mention all the people that donate ever. Under any, under the normal. Now, see, everything I do, everything I say is recorded, and they're trying to build a picture of me and everybody else. And so every time that I say I'm going to go do something, then the industry has to counter me because they're evaluating everything I'm doing because there's no resistance. And so all the public relation firms are going to focus in on me because there's nobody else really to target. Everybody else is just part-time, so to speak. I'm at this nonstop. And both of my arms are shot, the back part of my arms. Holy crap, eh? Between that motor yesterday and those big batteries yesterday, and then I had to take them out of the boat and bring them all the way back to the shop and get the right ones. Well, the 12 volts. And because we have to have that drone. Now we got the drones paid for. And as you've seen the underwater drone, we got one of those, and I'm getting the kinks out of it. Much better today, 2 different spots. I was beginning to worry, was I going to figure out how to use the bloody thing, the underwater drone? And I can't begin to say how much I love you folks. I don't think you could ever appreciate it, even if there's only 1 or 2 of you that manages to show up. To me, it signals I'm not alone. Because you feel alone, whether I got the comment section or not, right? Hi, Amy. Yeah, that's true, Amy. Good point. Yeah, you could thank your emails for sure. But still, I don't I feel I should call everybody and thank them personally. And then, of course, I don't want to intrude into people's lives. And I don't blame people for not supporting me. I don't blame people for not hanging around or learning or giving up once they learn so much. I don't blame the people out there sitting there, I'm evolving as this evolves. And we're going to tell a story coming up. We've been yakking for 15 minutes. I better get busy. It's just I'm so worn down tonight. I just wanted to put a little message out there. So everybody out there can appreciate. If you go watch my first half an hour, and the last video and the video before that, you'll see all the stuff we accumulated just this week. It's overwhelming. It really is. It's so overwhelming what we pulled off. The industry will reel forever just from the shock we brought to it. And the problem is everybody got to put their faith into me. And the results that I do are not going to be magic. You're not going to see the results all the time right in front of you. But as you see these headlines that I bring to the table that are pertinent and recent, usually the same day or within a week, headlines, you start to see this transition of over the last several years. But because you're here, those who are here all the time won't notice it so much. It's not so pronounced as it would be if you're in increments watching this stuff, where you start to see the headlines changing. Where when I started doing this, well, pre-Fukushima I was been at this, but like gathering documentation of what of the nuclear stories. But what we noticed in particular in the last 4 years is we went from one maybe out of 100 headlines that would criticize nuclear to, I'm not kidding you, 1 in 100. If you were lucky, sometimes 1 in every 200, you would find someone criticize nuclear, and that's a good headline. Got to keep that fella, that story. There's some good stuff there. They criticize nuclear. Now what we're seeing is anywhere from 4 out of 10 minimum to 7 out of 10 criticize nuclear. They still put a bunch of lies in the same article, but they actually criticize nuclear. But what we also see is my narrative showing up in all kinds of activists, all kinds of public, and all kinds of those stories. You'll start to see my narrative. If you go back 4 years and you start reading all the way up to now, you'll start seeing that happening. But you'll also see the absence of the word. It's like a banana. It's like a potato chip. It's like walking in sunshine. It's like getting on an airplane. It's like sleeping next to somebody. You start seeing that disappear completely from the narrative. And you see the authors of the story, the journalists, cease to use their name. And they only put up staff or something like that. But it won't even say editor. It won't say producers or something like that. There'll be no name. This is a big changing because we take their name, we put it in the tags, we call them out. Yeah? And their solution now, and we see this uniformly, is where they don't add their name very often to the story. If the story is full of lies, they're most likely never going to put their name in there unless they're Yermi Mamaguchi from Associated Press. And thank you, Elaine. Government bans decontamination work by foreign workers. They call them interns. These are people that are brought in dirt cheap. The government bans decontamination work. It's okay for the Japanese, but not for the people who don't speak the language. See, this is interesting because this is a result of our campaign to educate the population and then go out and bang into them and make sure they don't forget. The Japanese government has decided to ban companies from using foreign trainees to carry out decontamination work in areas affected by the 2011 accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. The Japanese government had decided to ban the companies using foreign trainees. Well, they call them foreign trainees. These are immigrants who don't speak the language, and they were also bringing people in. Oh, yeah, we get you some work. You come on in here, we'll pay a good wage. And if they offered you $50,000 an hour, or any nuclear scientist $50,000 an hour to go do some of these jobs, they would say no. Yeah, but we're going to give you $50,000 an hour cash, and you're not going to pay no taxes, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I'm not doing that. What are you, crazy? It's really interesting because they could have developed robots since Chernobyl, but they didn't. So ask yourself, why didn't they bother? Why are they scrambling? They're not really scrambling either. They're building these little stupid robots to get a picture. They still can't accomplish it 7 years later. If you go back and look at the original headlines, they said the robots are on their way to Fukushima. Don't worry about it. Now for political slaughter of the day. The decision comes after a Vietnamese man complained that he was asked to remove contaminated soil in the Fukushima prefecture. The decision comes after a Vietnamese man complained. Now, when you're talking about remove soil, unless I bring a picture to it, it's really difficult for the average person to kind of wrap their mind around it. And we'd have to import a whole bunch of other pictures yet. We ran through a lot last night, did we? Get way down the pile. Holy crap. Hang on. Decontamination. They're after power washing the house to claim that it's not radiated so they can get people to go in there. And as they're up on the roof looking around, this is what they see everywhere, these big 1-ton bags. Everywhere they go, there's these 1-ton bags. He told a news conference he would never have come to Japan if he'd known a news conference. Thank goodness that he would be doing this kind of work. He also expressed concern for the impact on his health. So these bags are not harmless. The man came to Japan under a government-backed technical internship program that allows foreigners to acquire skills and know-hows. Then he stuck them in to pick up bags. Or worse, sent them into the nuclear power plant. The ministries in charge of the program say that decontamination is not suitable for interns. Oh, thank you very much. May I have another? It's not suitable work for interns, but it's suitable for the homeless and the destitute of Japan, right? Because that is exactly who is there, is the victims of society. The city will make it mandatory for companies to submit a pledge that trainees will not be asked to do this kind of task. We're almost to the story, so hang on, and then we'll slaughter that narrative. A group that supports foreign interns. Now, normally an intern, well, we consider somebody at the hospital or somebody at a big corporation. Yeah, that's who uses those words. If you got a big corporation with tens of thousands of employees, and you got someone new, they're called the intern. Oh, they're new to the big corporation. They don't even know where the toilet is to. Perhaps they want to keep foreigners out to keep the news from getting out. Well, these type of foreigners they barely speak the language. They're impoverished. They're there on a work permit. And they send them in to do mundane, weird jobs. But you're right. I mean, they don't want foreign reporters, and they don't want foreign academics, and they don't want foreign activists, and they want foreigners who are, have a lot of bills, and this is why they're going to that country to get a job. So they may consider revoking their permission to hire foreign interns. Foreign workers. Say the word sometime to the journalists who don't put their name on it. Now, if you go back, April 10, 2011, Temp workers fighting to repair the crippled Japanese nuclear plant. Temp workers. Now they're called temp workers instead of interns. Temp workers are fighting to repair crippled Japanese plants. So in 7 years, they got a new acronym. It was especially chilling to read a New York Times story this weekend and learn that many of those white-clad figures are temporary employees working for less pay, less job security, fewer benefits than the TEPCO. TEPCO employees from other power plants didn't volunteer to go to Fukushima. Yeah, they volunteered to go there and put up these fake Geiger counters so you can trick the children to stay there, and then they got it at a Dodge. The people at the plant wearing paper suits can't protect you. Temporary laborers who handle the bulk of the dangerous work. Temporary laborers, aka interns. And in other countries, this is a standard for the industry. Some workers are hired from construction sites. Some are local farmers looking for extra income. And others are hired by gangsters. Whenever there are hazardous conditions, these laborers are told to go. It is dangerous for them, and it's dangerous for nuclear safety. According to the article, of the roughly 300 workers left at the plant last Thursday, and the article was published on April the 10th, April. So that's less than 20 days after the accident. 20 days after the accident, the 300 workers left at the plant. The 45 were employed by the contractors. And others he knew were been offered $1,000 a day to go there and work. They didn't offer the nuclear academics and journalists in the pro-nuclear industry, they didn't offer the nuclear trolls $1,000 a day. They offered him $350 for 2 hours of work. That's a lot more than $1,000 a day. He only got to work 3 hours and he's over that hump. So if he works a 9-hour day, that's $3,000 for a 9-hour day. That's pretty good pay no matter who you are. For a lot of people, they don't even make that in a month. So if you don't know anything about nuclear and you're from a different country and somebody says, hey, you want to make $3,000 today? Yeah, it's work. You got to wear a suit. It feels awkward, but you got to keep the mask on. Well, I could do that. I got a wife and family and kids and everything to take care of. Come on, man, give me a job. Oh, you know what? I like you. Come on, you're good. You want to work some overtime today? We'll send you a check. You're coughing at the end of the day. We'll send you a check in 2 weeks. Don't worry. And you don't see the 2 weeks because you died. Over and over and over. Japanese cars are not radioactive. There's some bumping in my microphone. My apologies. March 23rd, 2011. The accident happened on March 11th. This is 12 days later. Got an email from someone today complaining about, always complaining. And I said this is probably the very video they're talking about. I had talked about Unit 4, I said it blew up, but that's Reactor 3, right? My apologies. But that was used, right? I know right away I'm going to show Reactor 4 and say Reactor 4, so sometimes I slip up. I got a big long letter about showing Reactor 3. Trying to berate me in one sense. Because if you watch the video, they realize that was a slip of tongue when I said it. And if you watch the rest of any of my other videos, they realize I don't make that slip. It's a Freudian slip. Because I cover the topic so often, so much, with so much material. I have so much going on in front of me at all times. There's soundboards, and offside is another computer that's wired into this operation, and there's wireless lights all around me. I got 2 cameras in front of me. I got so much going on. The monitor, the chat room is right here. And I got my position, the microphone, the audio. There's so many. There's 2 mouses. My T, if I tip that over, there's going to be a disaster. There's a Bluetooth here to control the lights. So I can control the lights, all of my lights, with just a touch of a button. So I sometimes make Freudian slips. And obviously that person didn't watch the whole video or the rest of the video. They just burned out an email. The growing fear over the possibility of imported Japanese products being laced with radioactive material from the earthquake and tsunami damaged Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. There's a big sentence. The global automotive industry was assured cars are free from contamination. So Japanese cars are not radioactive. The whole country was radioactive. The reactors were destroyed. That's reactor 4 and that's 3. The global automotive industry was assured cars are free from contamination. Nothing could be further from the truth. Had issued a statement. They actually left car lots there and ran away, and they're still sitting there full of new cars. Has issued a statement saying the radiation levels that could harm humans have not been detected at any of its members' countries that could harm humans. What about insects and flora and fauna and marine life that could harm humans? And humans don't even see the harm. They won't even admit that radiation. A lot of them won't even admit radiation harms humans. Yet we know in the studies with Dr. Raymond Gilmedy from Loveless Respiratory Research Institute that the dogs died. I use it as a stick to beat the shit out of the narrative all the time. 144 dogs, they all died. But it was that way with all the studies. All the animals died in all the studies. In every country. It's never cured. Radiation never cured any animals. Therefore, how could it cure a human? But the further up the food chain you go, the longer it takes to show the effects. And cancer is the last thing to show up. And so these narratives have been thought out and utilized to bludgeon any opposition a long time ago, yeah? So they had issued a statement saying radiation levels that could harm humans have not been detected, which it was 100%. They picked up 30 million one-ton bags. They put Geiger counters in front of the homes to keep the elderly and the victims of the nuclear industry from speaking out. And it's shocking that the automotive industry was straight out. The entire Japanese automobile industry will be immediately taking all the measures required to demonstrate that its products are safe. That's Top Gear, right? From March 23rd, 2011. Now, Nissan reportedly said that it has taken measures to reassure the public that all products meet globally accepted safety standards. In other words, it was all irradiated, but it met the criteria that the goblins have instituted as a policy in other countries. And that monitoring will continue until we're confident that any risk of contamination is completely removed. These are ludicrous assertions. This would cost an enormous amount of money. You would have to start removing all kinds of product because there's different factories. Once you get the radiation into your automobile ventilation system, it's gig up for that vehicle. And so they went into full meltdown themselves trying to convince everybody there was no issue. Currently, we shoot ahead. Series 25, Episode 3, Season 25, Series 25, Episode 3, if you're looking for it, it's darker. I couldn't find the video. It'll show up at some point. Let's focus on but oddly touching. What they had done was they went out in a haunting change of pace. The pier also takes the chance to explore the darker side of history, getting special permission to drive around the abandoned site of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster. They're driving around the same area where they're going to have the Olympics, basically, which saw thousands forced out of their homes and remain largely deserted today. There's 500,000 people originally ran away. It's dealt with incredible sensitivity, while the focus isn't on the cars. It's a fitting and touching piece that clearly means a lot to Matt and Chris, without admitting it's something they'll never forget. I bet you won't. When you drove past those bags, you must have been like, oh crap, we shouldn't have done this run. We should have found another run. I'm looking for a picture that really tells the story. There you go. They had to drive past 120,000 of these. Their mission was each to buy a Swiss 90 sports car at the huge USS Tokyo car auction in Chiba. Chiba. By the way, folks, Chiba is covered in bags. 15,000 motors are traded there every day. 15,000 cars and trucks, vehicles, and then exported to the UK for maximum profit. Dirty, disgusting, despicable scum. Going into all these ghost towns. Shocking. And suggesting you should go to Chiba, buy cars and ship in the UK. Because that's what they done. Because that's what people are going to take away from it. Top Gear headed to Japan for the season's biggest road trip, had an eerie encounter with an evacuated zone. An eerie encounter with the evacuated zone around a stricken Daiichi nuclear power plant. Stricken. See, it's so shocking. You can't say meltdowns. You can't say destroyed. You can't say contaminated. You can't say mass murder. Stricken. A new sanitized version of no reality whatsoever. So this is my current site, the nuclear proctologist, because on the 11th they shut down my main site to silence me. It's so shocking. 70 thumbs up, 1 thumbs down. That's pure luck on that one. Event promoting Fukushima fish cancelled. Now, on that same day, there was this headline. This was the 13th of March. Fukushima fish get clean bill of health from Bangkok. And event promoting the same fish was cancelled. Event in Thailand promoting flounder has been cancelled amid concerns from consumers. Not from the media, not from the academics, not from journalists, but from consumers. So journalists and academics and media don't see no issues. No. They checked 50 million bags, Dana. They didn't find any. At some point, hopefully, they find you in one of those bags there. The event was being held, by the way, all those tarps in the backgrounds are bags too. The event was being held at a Japanese restaurant and scheduled to run through the end of the month. The export of the flounder caught in the waters off Fukushima was resumed on March 11th. For the first time since the nuclear accident, but they've been shipping in peaches and rice to Thailand since 2015. From a place where you abandoned everything, you ran away and left everything behind. Your supermarket's full of food, your bank's full of money, your community's full of radiation. You ran away and then they pacified you by saying you had nothing to worry about. But when we look at the sewage they stored, you absolutely 100% unequivocally had, you were definitely poisoned and you will die in the future and have incredible illnesses and diseases. This is why nobody went in and stole that stuff. It was too dangerous even for the goblins to go get their hands on it. The event was being held at a Japanese restaurant, 11 of them, by the way, and scheduled to run through the end of the month. The event. But people are still living in shelters, if that's what you want to call that. Instead of putting them in real homes, they built these places, so that they can drive them crazy and make them move back. No, I'm not kidding you. And then to get back, you got to drive past all them, and several 100,000 were foolish enough to do that. The group also reportedly demanded that the Thai government announce the name of the local restaurants that sold the fish, so the people that went there can sue them for poisoning them. Consumers took, and that's not what they done, of course, but that's what they should be doing. Consumers took to social media to voice their concerns. Consumers. Right? So instead of journalists coming out and saying they shouldn't be growing food in a place with 30 million one-ton bags for starters. No. They chastise people and call them consumers. Of course, they don't want to put their names on those articles, because then people will point at them later and say, look, monster. And the people who own that media, the editors, are monsters by default, aren't they? The Fukushima government officials said the prefecture will continue to promote the safety of the fish in the hopes of once again resuming the exports. Now, exports are essentially halted. Yeah, but they're still shipping rice and peaches. Of course, you get another headline. It's all good. I don't see what the big whoop is. Bangkok Post, one of the biggest medias in Bangkok in Thailand. Fukushima, right? And writer Post Reporters. See that? See the name they got up there? Post Reporters. Gee, journalists don't want to take credit for nuclear stories, but they'll take credit for everything else. Go figure it out. I should really... When they say treated water, I wonder, strontium milks. Well, look, if you try to filter one of those big tanks at the site, then the filter is putting off gamma shines, alphas, neutrons that are just, these are sniper rounds that get in the same enclosure. You can't pick the filter up, you can't move the filter, you don't have robots that can even get a picture, let alone take those filters and change them. Those machines broke right away. This was just a money grab because the government paid for it, just like the ice wall was. They're not filtering water at all. That's a fact. The Office of Atoms for Peace. Atoms for Peace. And in history will show this is the most arrogant name ever chosen for anything. Atoms for Peace. Says radiation in fish from Fukushima area is so low, their instruments can't detect anything. And by anything, they mean cesium. 137. Do you get what they're doing here? I'll bring up some graphics for you. Oh man, my arms are shot. Okay. Now, I didn't even put the batteries in the Zodiac today. My arms were too shot. So I figured I'd take the submergible down, poke it in the water. We don't get much sunshine, so. Come back to that. Said the instruments can't detect anything. Well, their instruments can't even detect curium, for starters. And they only look for iodine 131 instead of all the other iodine. They don't look for the xenon. They're not even looking for the krypton and dysprosium because it's all going to be there. Uranium, plutonium, they're a detector. Atoms for Peace. It's such an arrogant name. It's such a betrayal. Authorities have intercepted fish stocks. Can't read it in that capture, so... Authorities have intercepted fish stocks imported from Fukushima in Japan for inspection, but not yet found any traces that are harmful of radioactive substances and products from this nuclear accident hit prefecture. How can you not find any when you pick up 30 million 1-ton bags? How can you not find anything in that area when you contaminated North America on top of that? How can you drive past all of these, check the food, and not find anything? And to assume that the fish is somehow going to be good, everything runs off the coastline from the mountains all the way down to the coastlines. And the Geiger counter is only going to read what's on the external that they're because the Geiger counter can't read the powerful stuff. It can only read the cesium. This is on purpose so you can't find the powerful stuff. Department of Fishery asked the importer not to distribute the fish after learning 27.5 kilograms of flounder and 4.5 kilograms of salt. So they use this little small number, and it makes people seem petty to complain about it. Ah, it's only 45, right? It's only 27 kilograms. Now, this was the first kick at the can. They just wanted to sneak that through. It's still, and like a shotgun stuff that I'm going to show you. Fish samples were sent to the Office of Atoms for Peace, whose mandate is to promote nuclear, for examination, and it revealed today all of the products were safe. Miss Porn said, and we covered her last week. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not very happy with these murderers. Atoms for Peace. How are I weakened? Experts found that levels of radioactive isotopes cesium-134 and 137, as well as iodine-131, in flatfish founders was so low a regular device was unable to detect it. It was so low. They found greater amounts of cesium in salt, but the level was still lower than the safety limit of 500 becquerels. There's zero safety limits. A single atom can give you cancer if it sequesters in your body. And then other diseases will show up before the cancer. Such a betrayal. The authorities in Tokyo have been monitoring Japan's handling of marine product in Fukushima. Said fish from Fukushima was safe for consumption. Said somebody who had a lot to gain. Look, when you picked up all these bags, it's never safe again, ever. Right? The fight right now is, why are you growing it there? Why not grow it somewhere else? Why you got to be that sick? Why are you that twisted? Why are you that demented? Why are you that deceptive? Why are you that deceitful, dishonest, and disingenuous? After the 2011 nuclear crisis, that became the norm, didn't it? Japan conducted weekly inspections, they claim, of these aquatic animals and set a strict limit of cesium, which is a UK terminology, by the way. So you can see UK's fingerprint in this story. Levels at 100 becquerels a kilogram. Notice how they had 500 before in the story. Dangerous levels were found. The product was immediately banned. Yeah, but if products were found immediately, if you found a single isotope, then all these other isotopes would have been present, yeah? See, that's the reality. And because I'm heading back out on the ocean, I can't take a chance. I got to keep pushing. I got to keep pushing the whole time, because soon I'll be out of the picture for 7 months, and everybody... 7 years after the meltdown, Fukushima recovery still decades away. That's a great article. They lie some places. Food and livestock were poisoned. 7 years on, troubling questions about the plant's condition remain, and addressing them will mean decontaminating an area almost as big as Hawaii. Almost as big as Hawaii. Decontaminating area almost as big as Hawaii. But TEPCO did manage to remove all 1,533 fuel bundles from the plant's unit number 4 reactors before December 2014. It still has to do the same for the hundreds of rods stored at the other 3 units. So, right? So 1,500 in number 4. By the way, I'm going to show you pictures again in number 4. And now they claim there's hundreds left in the other reactors. There's 5 million pounds. The rods are only 12 or 18 pounds each, folks. They're 18 pounds each. And so that is a disgusting, deceptive lie. And just to bury that reactor 4 fable, I'll show you a clip of reactor 4 of, say, BBC. I got all kinds, CBB, CNN, CBS, you got Seth Dorn, you got Miles O'Brien. This is Rupert Winfield Hayes. That's reactor 4 over there, pretending they're in there, going to get the fuel out of a pool that don't even exist. And just to clarify that, see, they say bundles up there, and then they say hundreds of rods at the next spot. Instead, it's because a bundle got 60 to 70 rods per bundle. So they went from bundles to hundreds of rods. So that would be 2 bundles for all the other reactors. And the people that write these articles, these papers don't write about nuclear, so how could they know all this stuff anyway? It's because they're a public relation firm inserting their narrative into that media for that population.
So this is really why we've been brought here. Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion after the tsunami disaster. But down inside this pool behind me here...
And also they don't bother saying they rebuilt it all. So they reconstructed a perfect reactor. Like, people are insane because they're willing to do that. That's the most vicious betrayal imaginable, where a journalist is pretending he's in a building that don't exist to sell you a lie, which is exactly what you see there. They try to sell you a lie. This is why the videos I do are not for entertainment. So you'll get bored, you become lethargic, you become disenfranchised with the information I'm showing to you. Because it's not about it's not really a show. It's about, and it's not really repeating the information per se, the same story. It's about showing that they all can't get it right, even if they wanted to, they still couldn't get it right because their editors wouldn't let them. Study finds minimal West Coast fallout from Fukushima. We covered that. That was Simon Fraser University over the last number of days. Nuclear power project junked due to Fukushima disaster. Nuclear power project got junked due to Fukushima. Yeah, there she is. However, locals turned against the project. NPCIL officials tried their best to convince the locals, but they were not ready to give their land for the project. In addition, some environmentalists and local leaders, such as former BJP MLA, instigated villagers against the project. Some people did this for political gain. Oh, okay. And just remember the top of that narrative. Look at the first, NPCIA officials tried their best to convince the locals, but they were not ready to give up their land. And then some people then they say the environmentalists and local leaders instigated villagers against the project, and then say they did this for political gain, as if the officials weren't doing it for political gain. Do you see how the brainwashing works? Tried their best to convince the locals. That's not political gain. It's political gain if the environmentalists rally people. They call it instigating instead of rallying. Instigated. Think of the words that they're using, and you'll appreciate the subtlety, how it actually works. Authorities won't acknowledge the deadly truth of Fukushima. Now, look at the dates on these. This is all back from March the 7th, March the 8th, March the 9th kind of stuff. And we didn't do it on 11th anniversary because they tortured me and I moved on to the other stuff, but we're still trying to get through it, and so we're getting through it. Sunday marks 7 years since Japan's triple disaster. Letters. Authorities won't acknowledge the deadly truth of Fukushima. And so when they show you the triple disaster, instead of showing you the most important one, a nuclear power plant, they show you the tsunami with a kid to invoke pity. Only 30% is another headline. Only 30% of the local government hit by 311 want to host Tokyo 2020 athletes, visitors, says a survey by the Goblin Machine. Only 30% of the local governments hit want, which is kids on their way to school walking past Geiger counters in highly radiated areas. To me, it's such a betrayal. It's such contempt for people and for all the species on the planet. Just going to import some quick pictures here to finish out. And I try not to rush these streams because you can't tell the story when you're rushing. You really can't. I have to think about a lot of things to make sure I cover the subject properly so I don't have to go back and redo it. Very important. We used these pictures last week or so, but that's the pictures I got there right now. Hang on. There we go. You can hear my system just going, cranking out the noise. And lo and behold, you never find anything on anybody. 14 municipalities out of 42 in Unwary, Miyagi, and Fukushima Prefecture are interested in hosting athletes and visitors during the 2020 Olympics. And I host them in the same area where these children are subject to brutal radiation doses every day that's being obscured by the propaganda machine. The local governments were asked about their willingness, and you don't count newspapers, you're doing counts for a minute. Local governments were asked about their willingness to bid to host a pre-tournament training camp for teams. Pre-training camp for teams in the most radiated place on the planet. And also about registering as a host town designed to boost the economics, cultural, and human exchange between Japan and stupid countries that were willing to send their citizens in harm's way. The poll revealed that 10 local governments in the 3 Tohoku prefectures have newly expressed interest in bidding to host a pre-games training camp. 14 municipalities out of 42 in Iwate, Miyagi, and Fukushima Prefecture. 14. So instead of all of them, only 14 were in a position. As you hang on for a few moments, you'll see why. We are still in the midst of picking ourselves up after the 2016 typhoon. How interesting is that? And struck while recovering from 311 and do not have the resources to work on Tokyo 2020. They do not have the resources to work on Tokyo 2020. They don't got no resources. And then all the money they're using to build brand new facilities. You can see the betrayal when you look at these pictures. Like, it really is a betrayal. Every facet of it is a betrayal. It's not supposed to exist on our planet. We are having support workers sent here from across Japan and are not in a position to get involved in the game. Let me bring up the other pictures. The way it goes sometimes for me. I get it right, but then I get it wrong. Hang on. There we go. I'll fix it for the rest. We're just going to take our time and keep going until we run out of steam here. So this is where they're going to host people from the games. They're trying to get people to, because that's what those places look like. Municipal governments of Fukushima Prefecture responded by saying our framework for taking in people from outside the village is not sufficient. Oh, you got nowhere to put them, where they won't be looking at that all day. The impression that the 2020 games will only take place in Tokyo is strong, and many people feel that the area affected by 311 have nothing to do with the event. But what they should say is should have nothing to do with the event because it's full of radiation. Nobody wants to go there to watch the game, only the people that are tricked and deceived and manipulated. We can't see how the games and the disaster recovery are linked, said the municipal government in Miyagi Prefecture. It's difficult to understand how the games can have an impact on the local economy. And the local economy doesn't even exist because Fukushima has made it impossible to say, because you can't drive past him and not ask yourself, what the frig is that? So the Olympics athletes and the pre-Olympic going to training camps are going to have to drive past that, even though they're working furiously hard to hide it. The Naraha municipal governor in Fukushima Prefecture stated, when it was decided that Tokyo would host the games, there was talk of it being a chance to show post-disaster recovery to the world, but we cannot see how exactly. Yeah, how's that a recovery when nobody went back and when it's only the homeless and the destitute that you're shipping into Fukushima prefectures to work? And like the Vietnamese, man. Regarding venues for action, now it's saying that I'm not streaming. Now it's saying that I'm streaming. Hi, everybody. Let's come down to the comment section. See if we had any blurb blurbs going on there. I didn't notice. I was at the top of the page. Yeah, old cars are the way to go now. Lane is right. Thailand seems to be the place that will accept anything from Japan. Mouse. Yeah, stream delay. Yeah, glitching, Amy. Thank you. I haven't looked at it. Sorry, buddy. Hey, Robert. I'm not even considering shirts. You should do it, man. Just go ahead and do it. Start up a little site and start shaking them, buddy. That's the way to go. Hi, everybody. Watchman's been having bad headaches behind the eyes for a few weeks. Is a long time. Done auto body for 20 years. Then it kind of doesn't make sense why you're here. If you're blaming it on auto body. No offense to Watchmen, but we prefer everybody stay on target. We're talking about nuclear. I hope you're okay and you do well. But we have a lot of people coming in trying to see the comment section with stuff like that to dissuade people from thinking about nuclear. I'm not saying you're one of those, but I'm just saying around here you can get banned pretty quick by me, let alone anybody else. Hi, Nadine. Yeah, they should have junked nuclear power a long time ago. If anybody's out there, you got some questions, we're streaming again. We can just stop the show here and answer some questions. Let them roll, Elaine. It went off for about 20 seconds, did it? The trolls want to come in here and smoke me right now. Let them come in, Elaine, if you're listening. Elaine doesn't always listen because she's a busy lady. Yeah, you would have got a glitch there for a few seconds. I noticed my stream went down. Hi, everybody. Yeah, hi, Robert. Hi, everybody. Hi, Joe. YouTube messing with the radio show. Joe is right. Corey, just go do it yourself, man. I can't keep up with anything. I'm heading on the ocean in 2 weeks. I'm gone for 6 or 7 months, right? Let's stay on target here. You got a few minutes to nail me with some questions. Elaine had to refresh. You want to be hi, Linny. I'll call you Lynn because that's what I've been doing all along. Sacramento. I'm sure that's not your first name, Sacramento, so I'm going to call you Lynn. I'm not trying to be a jerk on that naturally. How far from the Pacific coast? Well, we know that fog. It's okay now, Elaine? Good. So fog, morning dew, will go up to 200 miles inland. And we know this because insects up to 200 miles and plants and vegetation are acclimated to more salt in their diet. They have a higher pH in their soil because there's so much salt being liberated from the ocean, carried inland, right? And the isotopes are liberated through the same venue, that same venue of the evaporation. And we've seen like Tokyo where fog was measured at 4,000 becquerels a kilogram. And so like your average cloud is 500 tons or something because that's water moisture, right? So a cloud that looks like 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer or 3/4 of a mile by 3/4 of a mile cloud weighs about 500 tons. Crazy, eh? Because it's broken up into particles. And so the isotopes from the ocean, and we know there's a lot there, like killer whales at 0.5 becquerels a cubic meter, which is 1,000 liters. So 1,000 liters is a cubic meter of water. And so 0.5 becquerels doesn't seem much, half a becquerel per 1,000 liters. That doesn't seem much. But killer whales are expected in the near future to have 1,000 becquerels a kilogram to their body because they're in that environment and they're eating the food. But the numbers were way higher than that, which is why we see all the whales are emaciated. And so 200 miles interior is shocking. Now, you don't want to be at the base of the mountains because the clouds are coming in off the ocean hitting mountains. Yeah? And they're going to lose a lot of their payload. That's going to wash all the way down to the coastline again. So we're in a terrible way. We got to come up with solutions. And we got to do it soon, yeah? Just trying to get freaking mouse. I didn't replace it. Jump. Thanks, Joe. Good to hear. It's going good. Looking for questions. Yeah, I seen the emails. I never got to them. I get so much volume, I don't get to anything anymore. I haven't even stopped in the last week. I'm getting ready to leave. And so I'm looking for anything that I can shoot back, like an interview or something like that. Showing up, didn't show up. It's the 7th anniversary. Never got a single interview, by the way. Did I? So Watchman is asking, I know the jet stream put quite a bit of fallout over Washington State. They had news local talking about the iodine, cesium radioactivity in the milk and knew nothing about it. Are these effects, do you think? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they actually, and this piggybacks off Woolly Bling Puppy's question. Dana, do you think this will obliterate, I can't even pronounce that tonight, look at that. And the West Coast all the way up to Alaska? Alaska fishery industry will be non-existent in a few years? I don't live there, but I am curious. Yeah? Oh, yeah. Alaska's up there by my last arrow. And so I went up, right? These are all the expeditions. We're going to head out again in 2 weeks and repeat this, the whole coast of Canada. Like every time I say that, I feel like smacking myself in the side of the head because it's insanity what I'm going to attempt to do here in 2 weeks. This is insane what I'm going to try to do in 2 weeks. People don't understand how insane what I'm about to do in 2 weeks really is. This arm is so screwed, man. Hang on. And so it was stripped. This is where all the birds died up right here in Alaska. They starved to death. So the reason the birds starved to death was when they come ashore. So when the birds come ashore flying along the coastline, they look down and you see all this food, but now it's missing. So the bird is flying along the coastline. You would see the food to my left. I can get out of the picture, I'm sure. Just data. So the birds will fly along the coastline. They could look down there and see that. Right? And then they go down and have something to eat. They didn't. They went all the way to Alaska, all the way into Canada. They crossed the Pacific and they went all over the place. They didn't find anything to your left, so they starved to death. And we know last year, in one particular spot, over 500,000. Because normally at low tide, they can look over to your left and they can land anywhere to your left or anywhere. Like the birds that died, the 600 or the 500,000 that died last year, early last year, in the end of 2016. These were the common murres. They don't need low tide to eat. They can dive 600 feet, yet they starve to death. This is shocking information. See? And so this was a normal picture of the healthy coastline pre-Fukushima. Now the coastline is stripped. It's stripped. The whole coastline is stripped. We got to go and repeat the experiment. And we have built the whole operation, rebuilt the whole operation. There's a better way to put it. And this is the new operation. I'm going to tow at it behind the sailboat up to the very top of Canada. I'm just going to take my time. It's probably going to take me 25 days to 6 weeks to get to the top, providing weather holds out reasonable and I get decent speeds. Well, at full speed, it'll take me 25 days to get there. And it's going to be long, lonely, dangerous, scary, intimidating trip. And while I'm gone, they're going to destroy me online. They're going to rip me to pieces everywhere. And there'll be no one there to defend me. I won't be there. No one there to make a video to defend me, basically. I'm sure a few will try, but generally there'll be nobody there with any way to dissuade them, is a better way to put it. So I'll have to come back and do exactly what I'm doing now, per se, or not, or whatever. By the time I go out and do the whole coastline again, to wake up the communities, to wake up the country. I got high expectations this time. Is the Pacific Ocean 90% dead? Freaking mouse hates my guts. Wow, see how it's jumping? Is the Pacific Ocean 90% dead? And what percentage is the Atlantic Ocean dying? Is the ocean our oxygen, right? The Pacific produces 50% of the oxygen for the entire planet. We don't know for sure how much of it's dead. We do know that the species didn't recede the coastline, the original 7,000 plus species. And there's another 6,500 invertebrates without the backbones that live in that same zone, the tidal zones, which is the nursery. And they're also missing. And so normally what would happen, you had a healthy ocean, you just plow in the ocean for a mile of the coastline. And all the species, both sides and deeper below the water. And then the ocean itself was a soup of life, so it would recede that section of coastline right away. But it didn't. Not only didn't it do it for that spot, it didn't do it for the entire coast of Canada, which also means Alaska would have been under the same. Because Alaska, you can't separate them, see? That's why California, we see the same thing in California as we see here in British Columbia, Canada. You can't separate the ocean. You can, with salinity and temperatures and other factors, but they still mix, right? Now, the jet streams carried around the world. We know the Pacific is having supercell storms. Last year had 5 supercell storms we've never seen before in the Atlantic. The winds, St. Martin's hit, 262 miles per hour. We don't have houses in North America built to take 262 miles per hour because we never foresaw winds that high. We have no history of winds that high on our lands. There's a couple of mountain passes where the winds in extraordinary adverse conditions have reached those numbers, but that was just flukes of nature per se, right? The valley, and the certain direction of the wind, and so the Atlantic. I don't know how bad it is, but it is bad and it's dying. All the oceans will die, for sure. What gives me the strength to go on? Don't got no answer for you, Nadine. I'm sorry. I don't have a clue. I don't know what drives this motor without the off switch either. Literally no sleep last night. And every time I open my eyes, all I can think about is, how do I solve these problems, my problems, so I can get the word out? How am I going to get... I was waking up last night over and over and over, thinking if I can get sailboats all around the world to put banned 2020 Olympics on their sails. I'm a nutcase. Yeah? I'm a nutcase. I don't stop trying to come up with solutions. And there's so many solutions available. If we wake up the planet, we come up with solutions. If we leave the current generation of goblins, of inbreeds in charge, we'll never even consider a solution. Their idea is to bury it. The real thing to do is to fight. But see, then you got to then their family and friends and loved ones and the people they work with will be revolted by them if they admit there's an issue, because they've been lying to them and themselves. You know how it is. If you tell yourself the same lie for not long enough, you start to believe it. You start to live it, right? And what keeps me going? So I got a bad habit of reading comments. I think, Nadine, let's be honest, is why I exist, and one of the reasons I exist in the first place is everybody asked for a boogeyman. Everybody asked for somebody to stomp them into the ground. Everybody asked in all the comments before I really showed up in full force, will someone please tell the truth? I said, I can do that. And then I started doing that in a way that is inconceivable. But also because that was the ocean is my friend. And before Fukushima, I had a company called Marine Channel Productions Limited. I got a company right now that's probably going to fall apart on me. I just can't seem to get it to work, and it's going to drag me down if I don't walk away from it. And trust me, I didn't start the company up to walk away from it, okay? And so I have so much on my plate that I digressed a little bit. I'm just explaining who Dana, what's going on with me is that I have so much going on. There's so many headlines, so many stories. There's so many things that need to get done. There's so many. I got so many hopes and dreams of ending nuclear and watching the planet fight for its future. Is my dream is to see the planet fight for its future before I die. And I work on the assumption I'm not going to live very long, and so I work diligently. But what keeps me going is I'm scared, I suppose, is I'm heartbroken on top of that. And I'm petrified like everybody else. And that I don't have to hide away from anybody. I don't have to be a ghost account. I'm not ashamed of who I am. You know what I mean? Like I'm on video. I show people my name. I tell them I live in Powell River, British Columbia, Canada. I don't hide away from anybody ever. But I'm overwhelmed with responsibility, and I take it serious, more serious than anybody can even imagine. Like people can't, I'm not going to say you can't, but I'm going to say the majority of people will never appreciate the commitment for the truth and for you and everybody else that I put into things. And that each one of these videos is meant to change policymakers and change people that are not taking it serious. But you got to get people to watch these types of videos. And this one tonight is not particularly an interesting video. This one will get no views because it doesn't have that momentum, bling bling that everybody's kind of familiar with. It's one of those videos where I had a long week, a long night last night in misery and agony. And this morning, I even went back to bed this morning at 10 a.m. I just couldn't do anything. And I got 2 batteries out there. I got to go into the Zodiac. And that's hard work to get them in there and fit them in that spot. And I know for a fact I can't lift anything. And so I went down and put the subs in the water, the submergible in the water, and tried to get the kinks out of that, and which went really good for me. But it was bad visibility. But I still, I went and got the drone today, and that was heartbreaking because that means I'm broke. But what the drone means, though, is that it changes the game for danger. It changes the game while I'm on the ocean. I don't have to burn the extra fuel. I can send the drone to get a picture of the whale instead of me shooting off to try to get a picture of the whale to see if it's emaciated or see if there's any tumors or whatever the case may be. And that I can also check now for bears on islands before I jump on an island so I don't get jumped and get eaten by a bear. And that's one of my big fears too. It's not a fear, it's just reality. And so even though that breaks me, the drone frees me, and it also brings a whole different perspective to the whole operation, everybody. So the drone could follow me sideways while I'm walking on the beach and get this beautiful shot of the whole beach, me taking shots. These are undeniably important things that got to get done, right? And I can shoot up really high and scan all around me for birds and animals and stuff like that. And rather than just randomly going in a direction, I can shoot up and have a look and say, well, it looks rough over there. I'll go over and hide behind these islands. So it's very safe for me, but it's very high quality. And so, like, I agonized over, should I wait and get the drone later? And I realized that that's one of the few things left that I really need. And I'm not going to get the one I want, so I'll get the one I can get, and that'll be the end of it. And I still got to learn to use it. And I got 2 weeks left. I better get it, figure it out, get good at it, and this will bring a whole different perspective to the expeditions for everybody. And so when you see me on a beach taking a picture, it's hard to appreciate it. But when you got a drone taking pictures of me, there's nothing on the beach, and then the drone flies along the coastline. And so the intention is underwater and drones and getting on the beaches. I'm going to document every mile of the coastline. So I'm pretty ambitious. And do we got time for another question, I wonder? One more question. Let me see what we got here. Yeah, so just the Pacific is 50% of the oxygen. The Atlantic and the other oceans will make up the difference. So the oceans are our most important asset. Nuclear attacks it. Hi, everybody. Yeah, and so every week and a half or 2 weeks, I'll have to come ashore in some port, and I'll be uploading videos. And if I can get the internet package every time yesterday, I'll be able to upload pictures all day long when I'm ashore. That to my website, the Nuclear Proctologist, and the renewal for that site is coming up before I take off. So I got to drum up another $350 for that before I take off to pay for my website. So that's still running. It's so overwhelming, the things. And I don't think about it. I go ahead and do it. And I have confidence that I'll make it happen. Thank you, Watchman. Thanks, Wooly. Everybody. Yeah, that's right. Milks the Drones is going to get some great pictures. Red light, thank you. Yeah, time's running out. Hi, everybody. We'll call her quits. I'll call her a wrap. Hour and a half. My apologies. And that's because we're heading north, right? In the next 2 weeks or so, weather permitting, we're gone. I can't just put the whole operation together and do nothing. I got to go off and do the expeditions, yeah? And what the expeditions mean is we go into these communities and we have a big presence during the community. And so I will paint the Nuclear Proctologist on my sails somewhere along the way, I'm sure. I'll try to hire somebody, but I burnt all the money on equipment and drones and batteries, and generators and ice makers and everything else. Because all of that allows me to stay out there, and the longer I can stay out, every time I got to go to port, it takes time and money, right? So the less time I got to go to port, the less money it's going to take. And it's just like it breaks my heart every day that nobody else is doing it. And then it rejuvenates me that I'm going to do it because my words are gold. You can take my words to the bank, so to speak. What I say is true. When I go out and do this whole coastline, as I do updates every week or 2 weeks, coming down the coastline, the stuff I show you and the stuff I tell you are definitive, period. There's no institutions out there that can counter what the documentation I'm going to bring to the table, and there's nobody out there can take away the work that I've done. Because between the underwater, and the drone, and the cameras on the beach, going into the communities, being a present and a force to reckon with, and somebody that can't be chased off, I can't be intimidated. I can't be bought off. I can't be persuaded. I can't be put on a shelf and forgotten. I bring it right to you in every step of the way. Don't hide away from anybody for any time at all. I always stand tall, and I'll continue to do that. See? So hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody Monday. And if I get motivated, who knows, I might do something on the weekend. Take care, folks.
This is to end in fire, and we shall all burn together. Watch the flames climb high into the